I think that sleep specifically and the other things that are about, your care, I think you just have to view that as a force multiplier. You can't, it's not taking an hour of work away. It's making you able to do 5 times better work the next day, especially over time. And then is there that one occasion where you've really got to wrap something up at midnight? Probably, but that's how I view it now. And that comes after my body broke down partway through our foster care experience, and I was just like not well for a long time.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. So here's the problem with Zach before I even get started. I didn't even tell him I was going to say this. We don't know if he actually works because every time he's on X, all he does is post about being near the water and the beach. So we don't even know if he really works. So we're gonna unpack that. But
it's a significant issue, and it's even compounded by my kids are now out of school for the summer. So the work hours is not the schedule that I keep is not recommended, even if it's scenic.
So what you saying? You're on a European schedule, is what you're saying?
I got something closer to that. Like we're working London market hours and European siesta for sure with the boys.
So I remember when I first started coaching, I read a book called The Prosperous Coach, and he was in Europe, and he said in his book, so every summer I take off 6 weeks, and that's a non-negotiable for me and my clients. And I was like, oh man, this is nice. I was like, I haven't had a week off for coaching in 6.5 years.
Yeah, no, it's really true. Like there is a big, it's not just mindset, but like cultural thing that would make that okay that we don't have. And we've experienced that since we moved last year. We moved to the coast, like you said, and like our whole life just slowed down. And that was that was by design. That's part of what we were going for. But it's really true. I mean, it's not just an impression. Even if I play it up on Twitter every now and then.
No, it is interesting, right? And people ask me all the time, and I was talking about it yesterday with one of my mentors. I live in an RV, and they're like, how is that? And I'd be like, honestly, it's fairly simple. Like, if you just want to like leave, like I went to Colorado the other weekend, I just like locked it up and went. It was like, it was like good. I just went hiking. So like, there is some joys because I did, in my previous marriage back in the day, we did have multiple houses that were Airbnbs, and it was a lot to keep up with.
We actually looked at that. And this may be off topic for where we want to go. We looked at that before we moved. We were like, we needed a fresh new chapter. This was our life change that we were in, and we can unpack why that was. But we looked at that first, like, okay, what if we bought a vacation house, or if maybe it was / Airbnb, or like what are the things we could do? But every single one of those felt like adding more, not removing the things, not putting us where we wanted to be. And so that you're right. I think you're totally right.
Read a quote I heard yesterday from this group I joined. He said, "What if the false self is falling into the real you?"
The false self is.
What if the false self is falling into the real you? Like you're shedding. Wow. Yeah. You're shedding. Right. And so it's kind of similar to my post this morning and my podcast yesterday with my coach. Like everything that we need in life is free. Like, I'm not saying need. There's other things. You need food. You need everything. Yeah, but like your walks on the beach, like the time with your kids, the water, like and we've created this complexity. So like my question is like, I don't know if you've read The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, but basically it's a book that changed my life. And basically he's a guy from back in the 80s who was a yoga dude who basically said, what if I just follow I just let the universe take me and things will come up. Long story short, he builds $1 billion company. Like,
funny how it works. Yeah.
And so it's funny, right? And so for me, like, I'm just shedding kind of like all these needs to be the Airbnb guy, to be this guy, to be this business guy, like the podcaster. It's just a weird. I didn't know we were going to go here, but yes, it's
No, I mean, just as a mindset, a guy really like Michael Easter wrote a book called The Comfort Crisis, and he recently wrote a book called Scarcity Brain. But in that book, he says, this is based on some study that I couldn't cite, but he's like, they were testing engineering students on the quickest way to, I believe it was to level a model bridge. Like they built a model and it wasn't right. How do you fix it? And pretty much everyone who's posed that question goes to building, and they go to building up the side to make it level or whatever the problem is. But this is why the experiment was set up. The quickest route to fixing it was to remove a piece on one side. And by like human condition and operation, we don't do that very well. Our default is to add and to fix and to, bring in from outside what we need. But sometimes you got to just pull something out. You know what I mean? And I think about that probably every day. Like that when there's a problem that comes up, am I adding to this, or is there a way I could take away instead?
I have heard that study, and it might have been from that book, but I don't remember it to a T. But it was so great to hear it again. One of my favorite quotes from Alan Watts is, how do you get muddy water clear?
Okay.
You wait.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
That's
100%, we try to inject. And so in this vein of this conversation that we started off with, like, why, for what you could share, like what was your family needing for this shift to the coast, to the smaller town?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm happy to share our experience for the last, like, I'm looking at what day it is, but like it's about 6 years ago, we became foster parents. And we had just planned, my wife and I, to be foster parents for that next phase of life. And the way things progressed in our family through that system was that our now adopted sons came to us, and we got put into this, what became years long process of navigating the foster care system. And the way that you're kind of prepped when you go through training, when you go through licensing, and kind of just what people hear and expect to hear is that kids come in and out of the system a lot, and you'll have kids come and then you'll have them go, and that's so totally true. But our long haul was actually somewhat different. It was that our boys were with us from the time they were really little, and this case just dragged on and on and on, and it was really, really tough. And it was tough. I had started my business, and suddenly my family needed very nearly 100% of my attention. You're trying to be the shock absorber for everything that's around those kids. And, you come home and your wife is crying because years have now passed and you're still afraid that your kids are going to be taken away. And that went on for years, that the case just dragged on, kind of, to be honest, kind of just the incompetence of the system. And, it made that whole time period really stressful and hard. It made home a stressful place rather than the retreat you hope it is. It certainly left like chips on my shoulder for business, because I, want to be a builder, and very rightly and appropriately and with no regrets at that phase, my family was needed that capacity more than trying to build a business did. So at the end of 2023, we finally completed the adoption of our boys. And that was okay, we've got to find a way to actually take a breath and find some rest and heal as this new family unit, kind of, without this other thing hanging over us. And so after our boys wrapped up school that year, we picked up and moved from sort of the western side of North Carolina to the beach. And it's just been a brand new chapter, change of scenery, new climate. It's been awesome.
I told you this. I think I told you this when we talked, and I told Jonathan the same thing, who's going through it, who's in my growth group. Being a foster parent, I mean, I don't want to label things as hard or fast, but it has to be the most emotional roller coaster on the planet. I mean, it just has to rip. Let me put it a different way. It has to push at everything that you think you are.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's the it it's a particular confluence of things that really challenge you, and that's because maybe you're a dad who wants to protect your kids. That's make total sense. But the people that are putting your kids at risk are like the government, right? And they have control of the scenario. Like you can't, you can do what you can do, but you can't do what you want to do that you would do to protect your kids in any moment. And the same applies to, when your stressors, your personal stressors are at home, which is not unique to foster care, but whether that's a caregiving role or an unhappy relationship or whatever it is, when your stressors are at home, is real tough to navigate. Where do you go to rest and escape from those things in a healthy way? And so that all those things, just that combo of things, makes it really hard. It's definitely you're gonna see all the cracks. And it also
two environments. You have two different environments, right? Because their lens is, they're looking at it from an emotional lens, and you're all emotion.
Mm-hmm. And really, like, for that process, you're trying truly, I said that already, you're trying to be the shock absorber for the kids. Like, if at the end of the day, like any parent would, you're hoping they aren't feeling what you're feeling. Again, right and appropriate and not like phenomenal insight. But when that drags on for a really long time, it just is going to take a toll. And it's your body is an absolute criminal in the way it will go to such great lengths to protect your brain in hard times like that. But eventually those cracks start to show, man.
So was your business and your clients, were they your escape, or where did you get, like?
Yeah. The truth is closer to, I just was ready to crash. Like, if I could get to the office and not have maybe there's not a meeting actually coming up. Like, no surprise when your stress level super high, focus is challenging. Like, that's a really hard thing to do. Sure. And so that's where I met to this chip on my shoulder of feeling like you haven't done your best yet through that whole window of time.
Got it.
Clients were great. They got taken care of. You carve out the capacity to do the things you have to do. Maybe it's hard, and maybe you, like, for me, didn't take care of yourself the way you should have to be able to weather those types of things. That's just being real and honest, that something's got to give sometimes, and we're not always really good at picking what that thing is. But thankfully, it wasn't the kids, and it wasn't my wife, and it wasn't the business. It was the growth of the business. That was the thing that I could live with, not necessarily being where I wanted to, which sucks, because as a business owner and builder, that's what you would literally want to do. Like, that's fun. That's the best part of the game, but it wasn't the season for it. That's how I interpret it now.
I look at you now, and I don't put labels on, but you look healthy. You look happy. You seem like this new season has embarked, kind of a revigor of energy.
I think that's right. That's how I feel. But it's not a status change. It's a progression of a few more deep breaths and a few more slow walks and a few more hours of sleep. Because, hey, newsflash, being a parent in general is hard enough. You don't actually need more on top of it to just be like, yeah, that's hard. We can just stop it right there. And so kids keep you up all night, and you're trying to do something the next day, man. It's brutal no matter how you slice it.
How do you give yourself permission as a driven entrepreneur for that extra sleep?
I think that sleep specifically, and the other things that are about, your care, I think you just have to view that as a force multiplier. You can't, it's not taking an hour of work away. It's making you able to do 5 times better work the next day, especially over time. And then, is there that one occasion where you've really got to wrap something up at midnight? Probably, but that's not, that's how I view it now. And that comes after my body broke down partway through our foster care experience, and I was just like not well for a long time.
Sure.
And so that priority shifts. Like, feeling good matters a lot after you've not felt good. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's been my experience.
I read it. Gino Wickman wrote a book. The guy that wrote Traction wrote a book recently called Shine that just came out not too long ago. Extremely different from everything that he's ever written. It was about basically telling the story that he was going bankrupt in the middle of EOS taking off, like just stuff he's never shared, right? And he has a chapter that I probably will reread once a month for the rest of my life called Being a Peaceful Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about being driven, but also giving your body and your mind what it needs. And it was like this thing that I've been wrestling with for like multiple years. It's like, can I grow? And so what I've done is different because I'm very driven. I love impacting people. I love helping my clients. I've kind of came up with this new thing for me. Is like, can I build my, and I don't have kids yet, so and nobody jump down my throat, please. But when I do, this will all go out the window. But can I build my business working 3 days a week?
Sure.
So I'm using time constraints to focus me instead of the other way around, because I'm either all in or all out. Like I'm either hiking for 4 hours or 5 hours, or I'm like working for 12 hours straight. So like I've just decided to use time constraints to do that. And when we do what we do, you do client work, I do client work. You can somewhat do that. Obviously, there's exceptions. You have to help when you got to jump in. But when you do have these business, and that's something that you care about a lot, is like this consultant / like service provider thing. So, talk on kind of how you view this kind of economy and sector, and kind of something that you seem to be extremely passionate about.
Yeah, that is exactly the vein we work in. We call ourselves corporate exit specialists, right? We want to help people who have seen the writing on the wall that their time in corporate is coming to an end. They spent a career developing really specialized skill sets in one thing or another, and they're ready for the next phase. And sometimes that's a sabbatical, like that's the break to heal, like we were talking about. Sometimes that is it's consulting. That's a vein that I particularly am interested in. Our kind of bet is that with AI innovation and with the way the landscape of the corporate world has changed and shifts continually more globally, that those disruptions kind of just ripple up to the top, where the best specialists will be afforded the opportunity to work independently if they want to. And if we're right about that bet, what we do know is that move comes with some really good financial planning and strategic life planning decisions. And we just want to be along for the ride for those things. But that speaks to this exact conversation of when your life runs headlong into however you make money. And you're like, I mean, this week I talked to a consultant who's caring for aging parents, like there's nothing easy about that. Not a thing in the world. And so do you come to the point where you're questioning or even finding the tension between this high demand corporate role or this consulting business and the fact that I want to be present for my mom or dad and the needs that they have? How does that come together as a plan for my life in this new phase? And it's not lost on me that's kind of what we were doing too. Like when we made this move, we were finding the thing that was the right fit for this phase.
And why do you think that most people don't take that leap? Is because they've identified too much with what the money means to them, or is it the title of said place they're at?
Yeah, I mean, I think the simplest answer is just inertia. If you've spent your life building a skill set in corporate and it's rewarded you well, and you're in a status quo that is serviceable, that makes all the sense in the world that most people on average stay wherever we are. Sometimes that's even unhappy, but we do just stay. We've identified a few likely or more common kind of inciting moments that tend to be when people say, "Oh, I'm ready." And actually, there's like some people who are dedicated to, I'm going to retire early from day one. And they're fine. If I can write that plan tomorrow if that's what you want to do, and just calculate how much money you should save. That's totally fine. Sort of like the simplest version of financial planning. But when it comes to, I've just realized my skills have reached a point where I can have a consulting business. That means I can own my time and use these skill sets. And by the way, I don't have to be in a Monday morning stand-up meeting ever again, or whatever it is. That's just it, man. That's the conversation that we really like to have.
So I know you can't give names and exact numbers, but like give me a story that you've seen, in the past year or two from a client that you've served, like that's blown you away? Like you just watched them like change their life. I know there's a lot, but just if you could just remember one, just to give people an example.
So I have some folks, again, I'll speak generally, but some folks who have come out of tech in the world of like research or data analytics type roles. And they just have carved out really particular niches of how they can use that skill set to help particular areas of industry. So just one example would be like to help nonprofits understand their donor base. And they've been able to use those very specific skill sets of handling, in this case, like massive amounts of data, interpreting it, getting conclusions, helping implement for really, really strong income numbers, and also have bought exactly the amount of freedom that they want to have, because they can do that from anywhere. They can say yes and no to contracts. They can be with their spouse along the way, and some hyper specialized things like that. Like I'm thinking of some others who their business is around we'll say the administration and functioning of charter school networks, like that. These hyper specific things that there are opportunities for the right person. So like our business is not everybody should be a business owner, everybody should be a freelancer. We're all entrepreneurs in disguise. This is a subset of people who are really specialized and have done all that work for their corporate career, and it's now bought them the opportunity to do this if they choose to.
And I think what I would be the most excited about is the internal message to y'all when it clicks for them and they have like the first couple clients, and like they've probably gotten back, if I could guess, 70% if not more of their week. And they're like, so here's the problem though. Now we got it. Now you've got the thing. Now you got to create some hobbies because you have all your time back. It's tough.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We start with we call it a vision exercise, but it's around that. It's like what the best thing we can do to start with is learn more about what you want your life to look like and not look like. And then along the way, you'll find things that satisfy that. The example I like to give is you might say you want a boat, and that's fine. Like that's a perfectly valid goal. We can do the math, save the money, buy the boat, whatever. But maybe what we find out is what you're really thinking of is how your dad had a boat growing up, and it was like freedom during the summers, and that's all really exciting and feels good. And as you go through this process where you're actually making the money and actually have the freedom, maybe that sounds a lot more like a cabin on a lake that you take your kids to. And the boat was just like it was what you knew brought you that feeling throughout your life. And so getting in touch with those things, while not expressly financial related in the work that we do, super important as you're feeling out this new path that like you've never done before. Those things really, really help.
And it's so weird because I've met so many in my career, I got a current client, like you're making, 300, 400, 500, 600K as a sales guy, but you're working conferences, you're going, and so, the money per se, like let's say they're only making 200 to start off as a consultant or 100, they're saying it's a step back, but they're not looking at the time that they get back. So if you, so like the simple exercise that I do is like, take the hours that you were working versus what you are, match them up per hour. It's not even close. You're blowing it out of the water. But then becomes the next thing of like, you are your own boss and nobody's going to push you except you. So there's like
I'm a terrible boss. That's what I always say. Like I got a lot of work to do and I'm a terrible boss.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I would imagine is so much, of what y'all do for them while getting them to understand niches is getting to reshape mindsets around kind of what it looks like on a day-to-day basis / what you're feeling. Like you said, the vision exercise. I think that's almost more important than what you know, because that's your skill set. Like that's why I tell people all the time. Like I just met with the sales guy this morning that I'm training. Like the aspects of your job for the product that you're selling, that's the easy part. We have to think about the bigger vision of like who you want to be as a husband, as an employee in this company, Like, that's the thing. And he was like, well, not a lot of people think like that. They think about this number or this thing. And I said, yeah, but that's just one part. That's the easy part.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about this, if you're this specialized consultant type person, is obviously you make this jump. The thing you are now as a business owner, you're not just you've thrown off any other corporate employee shackles that you had for showing up to meetings or emails that don't apply to you or HR training or whatever. But now you've got to handle all the business ownership stuff. And so one of the interesting things that is always an extension is, how do you build out the margin to mostly remain the specialist that is what's driving your revenue in this case? And like, some people do turn into empire builders, and they're like, no, I realize now I want to be an executive and I want to find 10 more people to do the thing. That's a valid path forward. You're allowed to do that, but that's not most of the people. I don't think that's most of the people in general, but that's not most of the people we work with. So how can we do things like make sure that you've gone ahead and put a team together to cover your basic accounting needs? That's a simple one. Let's just do that. How do we identify the things that are really the hangups? For example, like writing contracts or proposals like that. Again, can we outsource that so that your time is spent doing whatever the thing is that's your thing? Because it's just kind of in the nature of it that's how these people are making money, is one thing that they are able to do for one group of people better than anybody else.
No, I love it. And so I might know the answer to this question already, considering what you posted this morning, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is your obsession with currently in business? Like, what are you the most amped up on?
Dude, that's a good question. I mean, I think you want me to say AI.
No, I don't, because I'm so sick of talking about AI. But I was intrigued by the video, and it kind of blew me away.
It was shocking, right? And as people can go see the video I put on Twitter recently. But so I'll tell you the story behind the story of that, and that's what I'm most excited about right now.
Okay,
is cracking the code of permissionless marketing in this new era. Because man, if AI is that is an example of, there's a reason I put that video together, and it's not just because it's shiny and fun. And although it was to do that, our ability for things like you and me hopping on a phone call while you were like on the road and I was walking by the water a couple of weeks ago, that kind of connection is just exceptional right now to me. And I want in our business to be closer to that as how we engage people, more so than a social media post or clever tagline or dinner seminar. Like, I want to hop on a call with somebody because they just realized that their parent is going to need a lot more care, and they're coming out of a corporate role, and they're like, there's some momentum building, and I need somebody to walk this with me. Let's get on the phone, like literally right now, and let's just hash it out. And then we'll figure out the becoming a client next or whatever it is. But like that, dude, I'm way more interested in that, if that makes sense. Do you get what I mean?
Thank you. I went hiking in Colorado. I decided to go the Thursday before Memorial Weekend, after I had a coaching client and a men's group. I left at 5 p.m. I literally got home, decided I was going to go, packed a bag, just drove 12 and a half hours through the night. Showed up at 5 a.m., went for a hike. My fiance was like, I can't believe you went for a hike after not sleeping all night. And I was like, well, the weather was perfect, and it is what it is. So I went hiking for 4 hours. I went to Starbucks because Starbucks was next to Walmart, and I had to get something from Walmart. I was firing off some emails, and I heard these guys talking about a CRM like across the way, and I listened to them talk about marketing. And finally, I just like said hello because I'm me. And they were both in real estate, and we got to talking for like 30 minutes about marketing because they were trying to market their businesses. Long story short, I went to lunch with them the next day. Then I met with him for dinner like 2 days later when I was up there. And now I jumped on a call last week to help him with his business. He owns a brokerage. And he's like, why are you doing this? And I was like, because like, who cares? And so I've just realized that like, if we can help somebody, then you should, right? And if they decide they want to be a client, and they want to get more focused attention, then we could talk about that later, right?
Yeah.
But I'm more intrigued to like teach people how to do something themselves than like be the guy that's doing everything. I'm cool to jump around in any direction I want, but I'm finding more joy in just like helping people, because I remember me 6 years ago, like I just wish somebody would respond to that DM. Like I just wish they would have like responded, and some did and some didn't, right? And so I try to always remember that.
Dude, it's so real. And it does inform the business we're building, right? Like I have a partner, and our stated goal is to build what we would call a boutique firm, which means it's not enterprise, and it's not infinitely scaling, and it's not meant to be. And if that's not what you wanted, of course you would want to do things differently. But that is what we want. And if I can post on Twitter, this is how we connect. If I can post on Twitter and be like, hey, I'm taking a walk in 20 minutes. If you want to brainstorm taxes because you're about to sell your business, like just actually DM me your number and let's talk. And I get so much life out of that. And I think it's super fun. Maybe it's helpful, but it is real at the end of the day. And I like that a lot.
Well, one of the things that I realized a couple of weeks ago is I need to be tied to my mission, not the client.
Interesting. Can you tell me more about that?
Okay. Well, I don't say that to slight any client, because I'm all in all the time. But my mission is to impact everybody in every way at every moment. That's my goal. So if that's the case, then I can't control who's a client, who's not a client.
Yeah.
Right. But I can control my interactions with everybody. Right. Yeah. So one of my affirmations every morning is new people show up in my world every day, eager and ready to learn.
I think that's
right.
Great.
And so that happened yesterday. Like a client was like, hey, could you teach this new sales guy the guy I'm moving in this role? I got on a call with him this morning. He lives in Brazil. He's lived all around the world. He was like, dude, I'm so excited to learn from you, man. Just like, tell me, just pour it. He's like, just throw me everything you got. And it was just, I feel so enlifted after a call with him because he's so appreciative with the help. And so like, I don't want to get tied to an outcome. I want to get tied to the mission.
I think there's so much wisdom in that. Like clearly it communicates as what I would just call as a good thing, right? Like it's good to help people. Most people would agree with that. But it also informs just your overall how you operate as a person. And in our world, like I don't blame anybody for thinking quote unquote financial advisors are sleazy.
Sure.
Because like newsflash, that your experience has probably taught you that. And it's not, I don't blame anybody for that. And so we run into how do we be available for those real connections and to serve people well as clients and not, etc. But it turns out that the solution we found to that is to start out by being a real person. And like you don't go market and then become a real person. You just start out there. And then like, do some people never give you the chance? Like obviously that's the history of the world. But again, you and I got on a random phone call and we talked like real people sharing real life. And now we're doing it again. That's pretty great.
It'll all come around. Here's to say, my piece of advice to every young entrepreneur out there, it's taken me a long time to learn this. Or it took me a long time in my 20s. Never burn a bridge. You never know when it's going to come back around again. And so you just say, what I'm saying is like, never burn an opportunity, never burn a relationship, never, like, you don't know. Like 10 years from now, like 5 years from now, that could be your business partner. You don't, like, they've changed or they didn't change. And so, like you said, that's called being a human.
That's it. It kind of is. I've been telling my kids, I saw this on some show, I guess it was, I don't know, but it was a random pithy kind of thing. But I've been telling my kids when they get into a fight with each other, because one of them's being selfish or whatever it is, that it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. It's just like, can we just please?
Yes.
Like it costs me absolutely nothing to not be a jerk. And I can like myself a little bit better. And man, you can then there's plenty of battles. This goes right back to where we started out. Like there's battles coming for all of us, whether that's health or family or real problems or bankruptcy or income or whatever it is. That's coming. It's like, let's maybe not make fake ones along the way. Oh, then you can have a little more of your energy when the next one actually hits.
So if people want to find out about you and what you're building, they want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
Yeah, just go follow me over on Twitter, Zachary_Ashburn. I share our resources, I share our stories, I talk about our foster parenting experience there. You got other links to stuff there, but just go follow, shoot me a DM, we'll connect when I'm out for a walk. It'd be awesome.
I got it, guys. If you like this episode, send it to a friend, rate us and review us, and we'll see you next time.